are here from Laetro. Laetro is a tech-enabled community. You can kind of think about us as a marketplace. We're here to get creatives work. That's our job. Our whole company is designed around it, and our mission is to see creatives flourish. And so you can see us at booth 821. I'm a creative. I come from this industry. Drake will say a little bit more about that. But we built this company as something that I wish I had had when I was doing more freelance. And so the whole thing is designed to be able to create a marketplace where on the supply side we've got creatives, and on the demand side we have enterprise clients, and we bring them together so that the creatives can do great work for the company. Some of our companies are Google, OpenAI. OpenAI is using us to help tell their stories. JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories. We've probably made, I think we're on track this year to make about $2 million for creatives. And that's creatives in just about every vertical, meaning illustration, graphic design, the whole range of it, from logo design to SEO and SEM, like data science. We've got motion graphics, creative directors, art directors, just almost everything that you make with pixels. We have creatives that do that stuff. And Laetro stands for Maestros of Light, because we're all using pixels. And so that's what our company is. And we're one of the sponsors here because there's so many incredible artists, and we're here to see you all flourish. Am I missing anything?
Nailed it.
Nailed it. All right, so I'm going to introduce our man Drake over here. Drake, you can see some of the qualities, the qualifications that he has. But one of the things that I've learned in the process of this, because I come from the creative side, Drake comes from the sales side, and the sales side has these pieces to it that I didn't know I didn't know. And those are some of the things that we're going to share with you today. Drake is a master salesperson, but it's because he believes that the thing that he is sharing with people is a gift that they want to pay for. And that's the attitude that he brings to things. And he's got this mastery that's allowed us to have increasing quarters every single quarter. And we're gonna do probably almost $2 million in business in this fourth quarter of this year. And it's all because of the systems and practices that Drake has been taught, starting as a salesperson in a group of like 5,000 other salespeople. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was something like that, right? Yeah. And he was the #1 guy out of that whole thing, right? And so he rose to the top using practices and systems and an attitude that says, I believe in the thing that I'm doing is going to be of service to you. And so we're super excited. He could have gone anywhere. He's been an investor in Laetro and is also the head of what we call the growth department, meaning that it's not just sales, but it's how do we connect the dots to move this company into the future. And so really excited to have him here. I've learned a ton from him about how we take our creativity out into the world. And so, yeah, that's Drake, our head of growth.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dave. And there's actually a typo here. It was supposed to be VP of hair growth, as you can see. So we'll fix that for next year. So yeah, thank you, Dave. That was an amazing introduction. And, I will say you have to believe in what you sell, and, coming to LightBox and meeting Dave and seeing all the incredible talent out here makes my job super easy. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm inspired every time I come to events like this because, like Dave said, I come from the sales world, where we move numbers around on spreadsheets, and it doesn't get that much more creative than that sometimes. So I love being in this atmosphere and just being here, so thanks for having me. And that brings us to Dave, who has had just an incredibly illustrious career in the art world and in the animation world. He was part of the second golden age at Disney and animated on projects like Pocahontas. You'll see that's original with the mock turtleneck.
This style hasn't been around for 30 years. So yeah, this is the shirt I got from being on the crew.
But more than Dave's incredible accolades, on Lion King and Tarzan and all those other films that we all know and love, he's just got a huge heart for the community. And when we started Laetro, that was really the grounding principle, was that the creative world, the artist community needed something to bring them together. All of you are mosaicing your careers, and Dave was really the reason why we started with this community and wanted to build something that could give back, could be a stabilizing force, and ultimately be of service to you all in times where the studios and the agencies and all the big companies out there have all the leverage. And so we wanted to try to flip the script and start to go bottoms up and give everybody here a little bit more leverage. And so Dave is one of our co-founders, and really is our creative freedom fighter, and we follow his lead on a number of different fronts.
All right, well, thank you, Drake, for that warm introduction. Good. Because we're the only ones here to introduce each other, so who else is it going to be? All right, so let's get into this. We're going to share with you, what this talk is about, is we're going to share with you principles and then practices and tools that go along with the principles, right? And so we're here so that's the way it's kind of break down, is that we're going to share with you these 5 principles on how to sell the SH*T out of your art. I don't need to spell that any different. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, good. And then from these 5 principles, we're going to break them down, and we're going to give you practices and tools. And then again, like I say, you'll have the deck afterwards that'll have the resources in it. So, Drake?
All right. All right, so here's our 5 principles. So buyers for your art exist. I think there was a question out here earlier, a comment like, who has sold any art this year? They're out there. They do exist. So, but to access them, you got to be yourself. Inputs lead to outputs, and so if we can understand what those inputs are, we can affect the outputs in a really reliable manner. And process is ultimately your power in all of this. Agreements matter. So agreements help us set achievable goals, boundaries, make sure things don't get awkward when we start to talk about money and timing and scope. Like, all that's super important just to keep everybody safe and happy. Do great work. That one speaks for itself, right? And making space for that excellent work is ultimately the practice. And lastly, you want to finish strong and leave your mark and leave no doubt on the deliverable or the project or otherwise. So we'll get into the first one here.
All right, so the very first thing is that buyers for your art exist. So I want everybody just to take a deep breath, okay? It's gonna be okay, all right? I know that there's a lot of buzz here, there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of worry. The environments that we move our art into are constantly shifting. These sands are constantly shifting. But we're also constantly expanding our markets out into places that hadn't been before, into Europe, into South America, into these other places where we can actually find buyers. And so I want you to just all get that buyers for your art exist. They are out there. It's going to be okay. We're going to help you figure out ways to find them. And so that's really the first thing to kind of take the edge off of all of this, because they're out there, all right? And so when you want to think about how to find them, that's the key. And so some of the things that we're gonna talk about is how to find your people, how to find the people that are going to love the thing that you create and want to buy it because it's a gift they want to pay for. All right? And so you got to know that they're also looking for you. Anything else I want to cover on that one? All right. So that means that you got to be authentically you. That's the real key. You got to make your art and make your business from the inside out. Trying to cater to what you think people want is going to lead you down a path where you're going to be less authentic. And when you're less authentic, your work is going to suffer for it. And so finding that place where you are true to yourself is going to help you find people who are going to resonate with it. Right? So it's just about qualifying. You guys can read all of this stuff later. I want to just kind of cover, that's the main point here, is that you want to find those buyers, but you got to be yourself in the process of it. All right, so how do you find those buyers? How do you find who it is that is your ideal customer? And this is a great place to use artificial intelligence, all right? I know, and we've been warned, like, we're a crowd here that's a little touchy about this whole thing about AI, right? And the point of this is that it's a tool. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's possible to use it to make your art and your career better. And here's one of the ways that you can do that, is figuring out who you're selling to, right? So you don't need to use any of the visual things, because you guys got that. But ChatGPT and Bard and these other language models are like having the best research assistant in the world at your fingertips, right? And I'll keep moving around so I don't block you guys, right? I'm kind of, all right, good, so I'll come over here and block you guys. So here's how I do this, right? So I go to ChatGPT and I say, I want to figure out who I'm selling this to. So I make up a character, an avatar. This is my ideal customer. And so I say, all right, this ideal customer for me, the thing that I'm doing for Laetro is a marketing exec who's got a budget, and what do they want to create in the world? What do they need to do? They need to get a promotion. They need to impress their friends. They need to find great creative in ways that isn't super expensive for them so that they can look heroic. All of these things that I make up about this character, right? And then I put that into chat. I train it for that. And then I go, what's the tone that I want to use? And I figure out, well, I want it to be kind of friendly and a little happy and sophisticated and, you know, understanding. And so then I put that tone in. And then I go down and figure out, like, well, where can I find these guys, right? What kind of blogs do they look at? Where do they visit? What do they read? What conferences or gurus do they listen to? So I start to get information that I might not have thought of before. Like, I start to build an avatar using this research assistant. And then I go to things like, you know, what are their goals? What are their, what keeps them up at night? Right? And so when I think about, well, what keeps them up at night, then I can start to push on places where I can find them and maybe solve some of the things that they need. I can be of service. And the more I know about who this person is, the more I can figure out ways to be authentic and be of service. And so I think that this is an incredible tool. I have a list that says, what keeps them up at night? What do they want to hear? And then I use some of that to do my LinkedIn posts, for example, right? Because I know that here's what they're looking for. Here's where I can be of service. And so I think that you can use these tools to make you a better artist, to make you a better researcher, and to have a better business. You use these tools to create more knowledge. This is where your line comes in. We create more knowledge. And then you say, and make more money.
Oh, right. And make more money.
Yeah, well done. That's good.
Thank you for the prompt.
Right, cool. That was a prompt right there with our artificial intelligence.
All right, so once you know who your buyer is, you know, well, how do you go find them? And so we wanted to give you some practical tools to go out there and do a little experimentation. And one tool that I use every day at work and have for many years is a tool called Phantom Buster. We're not being paid to talk about that either. It's just an amazing tool, and what you can do on Phantom Buster is basically tap into any network online. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, even Google, some YouTube channels. You can leverage this tool to say, if we know our buyers are all on Ross Draw's YouTube channel. Shout out to Ross, he's right across from us in the exhibition hall. He's got a ton of followers. Maybe you do a similar style. And you could go and find every single one of his followers using this tool, Phantom Buster. You can download their contact information, all of their handles, and all of a sudden you have a massive list of people who you could go and reach out to about your own work. That being said, you want to make the list approachable, something you can work yourself through. So maybe a list of 1 million people isn't where you want to start, but maybe a list of 1,000 is, right? Of really, really targeted buyers who you know are interested in my art based on X, Y, and Z. And you can use this tool, Phantom Buster, to do just that. And what's absolutely crazy is they give you a 14-day free trial. So if you do some training on their YouTube channel, you get familiar with the tool, you start to look through the applications and really think through your own business and your own buyers, then you could tap into this 14-day trial and get years worth of leads in 14 days all for free. And then you cancel that thing.
Wait, all right. So this is your cheat, right? So what you're saying is you go to YouTube and you check out how to use Phantom Buster. You get up to speed on Phantom Buster. You go, oh yeah, man, I got this Phantom Buster down. Now I go to the website. I get a 14-day free trial. I go into that. I get all the information that I need in that 14-day free trial, and then I cancel Phantom Buster, and then I hit all those people that I got from the free trial.
It's going to be a crazy 2 weeks.
All right? So things like that, that is such an artist hack right there, isn't it? Right? It's amazing. So, all right, so that's great.
Yep, so that's just one thing. And then, shout out to LinkedIn. I mean, there's so many transactions happening on LinkedIn every single day. Check it out for yourself. There's people who are there trying to transact. People want to talk about business. People want to connect with you about the thing that you do professionally. And so there's a ton of resource out there about how to get your profile, set up in a way that, is essentially your digital, storefront. Your portfolio serves for, a visual representation of what you do, but LinkedIn can be a place that's a much more natural place to have a conversation about money, right?
Right, in LinkedIn, there's a billion, I think it's something like 900 million people on LinkedIn. And if you haven't gone to LinkedIn yet, it's a great place for you to look for buyers because it's a professional network. And so there are some things you need to know about LinkedIn, like how your profile is. You want to be posting with some consistency so you can start to build a community. You want to comment and like so you're part of being a good citizen on that platform. And building a community by using something called engagement groups. And so at 4 o'clock today, if you want to come by booth 821, that's where our Laetro booth is, we're going to do a kind of informal chat about how to get your LinkedIn profile and use LinkedIn effectively. And we're going to start an engagement group. An engagement group means it's a bunch of us who post on LinkedIn and then we like each other's stuff, right? The algorithms, I got to stop drinking in the morning. The algorithms, we can cut that, right? We'll fix that in post. Are designed to make you singular. They're designed to separate you. They're designed to have you just be by yourself, trying to build your stuff by yourself. When you use an engagement group, it's a way to kind of hack that whole algorithm. If I've got 20 people in my engagement group and then I post and then they all jump over onto my thing and they like it and comment on it, then my post rises up. I do the same for them and then we all rise. And I will say that at Laetro, our motto is we rise together. And so we as creatives, I also want to point this out. Everybody in this room, we're not competing with each other. We are here for each other. If you look around, you're going to see people who are going to be in your career for the rest of your career. Right? And so these people who are sitting in here are not your competitors, they're your collaborators. We're here to learn from each other, to rise each other up, to polish diamonds with diamonds. And so you got to know that at Disney, we realize that we're not competing with each other, we're competing with the legacy of the past. We want to keep our art rising. And so we found that generous collaboration was the fastest accelerant to excellence. And so when we collaborate generously, we share. My flame is not going to go out if I light your candle and vice versa. So when you figure these things out, you can start to help each other with these tips. And so if you want to meet us at 4 at booth 821, we'll build an engagement group. We'll talk about how to use LinkedIn as a way to help your career. And if you want to be part of our engagement group, then that's great. You can sign up down there and we'll get you started on it. All right?
Awesome. Here's a few other tactical examples of what you can do on Phantom Buster in different channels. We've got Instagram. So there's, for example, you can take the Instagram followers of a profile that you like, want to follow, looks similar to your work. You can set up a thing that basically just auto connects and auto follows with all of the people who are following that account. And you can do this in an automated way. So you're not actually sitting there clicking. We're all on social media enough. You can get this tool to just do all of this for you. So it's always working.
How does it show up? when it gives you a list, what does the list look like?
Yeah, the list looks like any spreadsheet, but it's inside of their tool, so it looks a lot nicer. And it's essentially just, it's a couple button clicks, and it's off and running. And it just works by itself. It checks in with you if it makes an error or something like that, it falls down, and then you just stand it right back up. It's super simple. But that's just one example. There's other ones here, right? So I love the hashtag search export. So you can take a hashtag that you know is going to work really well for you or your business based on all these prompts and the work that you did on your business to get to this point. You can export a list of people posting on a similar hashtag or the same hashtag, and then you can get into the mix that way too, right? Start following those people, connect with those people, post inside of that hashtag, right? And so a lot of these things you can do in an automated or semi-automated fashion to put yourself into more places to have those opportunities to sell. All right, so inputs lead to outputs. Process is power. So really this has been the basis of my career and really what I learned getting formal training inside of a massive sales org, tech sales org that's extremely ruthless. And really it's when there's so much happening and you're trying to manage all these different conversations online with buyers, you have to grant yourself some peace of mind and some separation from all that. And so you need a process so that you can go through and work 100 different accounts over the course of every single day. And you can show up to work, or sit down at your desk in the morning and go, oh, I know exactly what I have to do today. I don't have to think about what I'm doing today. I know exactly if I hit these inputs, I know that these outputs are coming. And so we want to extrapolate on that a lot more because, first off, we have to know, what these inputs are. And when it comes to selling anything, it's all about numbers, right? This is a pure numbers game. And I do want to call out that when you invest in these numbers and trying to understand these numbers, then you can manipulate them and you can get really reliable, profitable outcomes in the back end. One other thing that really helped me over the course of my career is dealing with rejection. Even the best sellers out there, you're only going to close 3 out of 10. Absolute best. I don't care what the price point is. I don't care how complicated it is or who you're talking to or who's doing the pitching. A world-class effort is 3 out of 10. I just want that to be super clear out here.
Right. I want to double click on that. And I hate that term, right? It's like a new term. Double click on something? That's not a language. I don't know. I heard somebody say that and I was like, wow. It's just computer coming into language now. Who here has some challenges with numbers just in general? Right? We're creatives, we're artists. Like the numbers are a thing. The spreadsheets make me go blind. Like all of the grids and stuff are really challenging for me. However, the other side of that is that I know I want to sell some stuff. And I know that the inputs, if the inputs equal outputs, and I'm going to only get 3 out of 10, right? And it doesn't matter. Like they might love your work and love who you are. It's timing. It's mood, it's whatever. The best salesman is like the best baseball players. If you're batting 300, you're making millions of dollars. It's amazing, right? So it's inputs equal outputs is really important to get and not take it personally. So the math is just the numbers of inputs and the numbers of outputs. If you need to sell 30 things to have your year work, and it takes 100 to do that, then that's kind of something that can make you relax a little bit. It can give you some it can calm you down a little bit. So the numbers that typically make you really nervous, now if you can just get a handle on them, then it's something that will ease your mind a little bit because as Drake says, you know what to do, right? I know how many things I need to do this week because that's going to lead to the inputs, right? Or it's going to lead to the outputs, right? So it's okay to have somebody say no when you just know that it's going to be an input-output thing. Does that make sense? Yes. Right? So I hope that just like calms you down a little bit. The numbers are important because they represent the outreach and the connections and the connecting the dots. And what we'll cover here in a little bit is that somebody who didn't buy today might buy tomorrow. And so all of that stuff matters. You're building a connect the dots company. And so you never know when that person who was a no yesterday is going to be a yes tomorrow.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it really just helps you disconnect from the no's and remember the yeses. You know, I've heard just thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, you get it, of no's over the course of my career. But those aren't what got me here. You know, I learned from those, but really the yeses in those moments were the ones that, you know, propel you forward.
It's great. I see emails from Drake every single day that come in and they say, hey, just checking on y'all. You know, I know you said no and you told me to get out of the place 6 months ago, but maybe you've changed your mind, you know? I mean, it's not exactly that, but like every note that he sends is like, hey, just checking on your no. Is it still a no? Right?
Totally.
And there's something really nice about that. And he gets notes back that say, yeah, it's still a no, but, right? We're revamping some stuff, and now we know where to find you, right? And so all of those no's, if you just take it's not personal. If you take that out of it, then that gives you access to ask again when it might be working for them.
Totally.
That's what I mean by playing the long game, right? And now here's another thing that we're going to cover. The world-famous 6-hour rule, okay? And the thing is, there's no such thing as a world-famous 6-hour rule. It should be, but nobody gets this, right? And this ridiculous slide is kind of set up by like sales teams and everything to explain this to CEOs, and the CEOs never get it. I don't think our CEO gets it. The idea is that people have to spend time with you to buy. And that typically that time is right around 6 hours. And there's science and research that shows this, that buyers of just about any product, unless it's, you know, shopping in the market, and even then, the research shows that people have to have been exposed to your content for about 6 hours before they're going to buy. Now, how do you talk to somebody for 6 hours? But if you can even think about it for yourselves, right? When you meet somebody and you're friends with them, and you know, how much time do you spend with them, or you know, on their Instagram or on their Facebook? All of those times count. And then you get to a place where you're like, hey, we should be friends, right? But it doesn't happen right away. It's the same thing with your art and with your business. So getting to that 6 hours, well, how do you do it? If it's not just going to be you, how do you multiply yourself? That's why you have Instagram. That's why you have Facebook. That's why you have systems to be able to contact people and get that 6-hour bank up, right? Without it having to be you all the time. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Is there anything else I missed on that?
No, that's really it in a nutshell. Just more practically, how it typically happens. Typically, you know, you're going to start up here on the top. Those blue dots, those are, you know, basically touch points. You're going to start out and you're going to DM people, or you're going to set up an email list. You're going to hit people with some DMs, you know, trying to get in touch with them, etc. Nobody's going to get back to you. You know, maybe some people will, but you know, it's going to be slow, right? And ultimately, if you're only leveraging some email outreach to try to hit your 6 hours, you're going to end up somewhere around maybe them interacting with you for an hour. And this model right here assumes that your emails actually led to them hopping on a phone call with you, where you banked 30 minutes of time with them, but ultimately, you know, after the conversation, it wasn't a real buying opportunity. They say thank you, and we'll smell you later. And that happens a lot. That's where I started. That's where most companies start. And so what we want to look to get to is using our different digital touch points to build that rapport and build that trust over time. And that's what Dave was saying through, you know, through Instagram, through Facebook, through LinkedIn. And what's amazing about what you all do is you have this incredible visual bank of what you do. You know, you have that content already. You know, software companies, they're trying to create cool content about super boring software. Hard to do.
That's what advertising is.
Yeah.
Right? Advertising is just a chance for you to spend time with that company for that 30 seconds or a minute. That's why they do it.
Yep. And so all of a sudden, when you're starting to leverage all these platforms, it's a digital world out there. That's where all these sales are happening. You're not meeting up in person to make these sales. And in fact, you really don't want to, because that's not really efficient in terms of trying to scale your business. Obviously, it feels good for the heart to meet up in person and make a sale. That's awesome. But really, then it becomes, when you're posting on your different platforms and using these different automation tools, it becomes, somebody sees this time lapse of this piece that I did, and then they saw this point of view article that I did on the current pricing models of how creatives are getting paid right now as freelancers, and they start to engage with you and see that you're a really well-rounded person who really is super knowledgeable about this industry, has incredible talent, and then ultimately, when they give you that opportunity to get on a discovery call, you're not starting from zero. You're not starting from, hi, I'm Drake, or hi, I'm Dave, and I'm an artist. You're starting from this place of, hey, I know you watched my time-lapse piece 3 times. What did you like about that time-lapse piece? And they could say, I loved X, Y, or Z, and you can latch onto that. You can see where people find value, and you have a basis to start a conversation that's more rich than, hey, I'm an artist, it looks like you like stuff that I do, how about one of these pieces? It's, the branches are pretty thin out there in that place. But when you have this richness behind your sales process, you get on these calls and have really easy closes. It becomes more taking orders than it does trying to pull things out of people. And ultimately, that really just takes the pressure off. You'll get to this place where you're starting to have 5, 6, 7 hours worth of interaction with people that you've never spoke to. They're going to know you super well. They're going to get on the call and know more about you than you think you know about yourself, and then it's done.
Right, that's where things like YouTube and TikTok and your Instagram and those things that help multiply you out in the world, so that by the time they get to you, they've already had some time with you. It's not their first time with you. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right.
Perfect. And last part of this section here is really every time you do interact with someone, you have one of those rich discussions with someone where you're not just DMing, you're not just emailing, you actually have a phone call, you talk about some really specific things. You want to make sure you take some notes, right? There's a ton of information happening in those calls, and the more you can tap into asking questions and recording information, the more you can start to piece together, hey, where does this buyer find value? How do I actually position against this? We've linked in the actual template that I use and my sales team uses in every call that I've done over the last 6 years. And I use that to copy and paste so that I'm taking notes. I have this template. It's the same exact thing every time, except for obviously the notes that I'm taking. I'm copying, pasting that, sending it out on an email as soon as I get off the call. People feel really taken care of. They feel heard because you took really specific notes and listened to them. And they're going to, if they don't want to buy from you, they're going to get back to you because they see that you've made an investment in them. And that is the biggest point of the sales call. It's to get to a response. Yes or no, doesn't really matter. You just want to get to this point where you've built enough rapport and trust where they're going to actually take time to tell you some feedback, tell you what they experienced. Ideally, it's I want to buy something from you.
Right. People want to be seen. And so when you have a conversation with somebody, you're listening to them. You might take some notes on them. But here's the thing that we do at Laetro. This template right here, when you get the deck, click on that template and check it out, because we use that with every conversation we have. And it's a template that says, they did this, we talked about this. And what happens is when you fill that out at the end of a conversation, now you have a content that you can email back to that client and say, hey, it was really great to talk to you. I really enjoyed our conversation. Here are the things that we covered. And so I just want to say, you know where to find us. What do you think next steps would be? Whatever the question is or the call to action afterwards. But when you send them a note that encapsulates in an organized way everything that you just talked to them about, they can see you're a pro and they were heard. And when that happens, then they're more inclined to be in a relationship with you because they know that they get heard.
Nice. So how do we keep track of hundreds, ideally thousands of conversations about your work at the same time? Seems overwhelming, right? It is, until you can tap into tools that are out there to make it a lot easier. And so those tools, the main one is called a customer relationship management platform, CRM.
And man, there are so many TLAs in this business. It drives me crazy. TLAs, you guys know the 3-letter acronyms? Right? Oh my God. Like I have to look them up constantly. So I'm in a meeting with people and they're all, oh yeah, we got the CRM for the DTT and the 4th embedded. And I'm just like, what are these things? All right, so CRM is a customer relationship management tool. Basically, it's a thing that you can use to help track everybody that you talk to and know how to find them again, know what they're up to. It's just a tool for your customers so you can stay organized.
Yep, and at any point, you know exactly what's going on with this person or what's going on with the account. And so there's some great free tools out there. We've linked some here. On the left-hand side from the work management side of things, just getting organized there, you can set that up as a CRM. There's tons of online templates that you can just do. It's already taken care of for you. One I really would recommend if you're just working, hustling out a Gmail, Streak. It's a free plugin that just allows you to basically, capture things in real time as you're emailing and doing things like that. Really great tool. And then more affordable but paid CRMs are over here on this side. We use HubSpot. There is a free version of that as well. That's super useful. But these will eventually make you pay for them. These other ones over here are freemium, and you can just leverage them for free and ongoing.
And one of the things that's nice about that is, like, for example, you send an email to somebody. You can actually look at their card, see who they are, what they're up to, what their contact information was, and all of the other conversations that you've had with them. So like if you've got a call coming up with somebody, you can kind of check it back so that you're up to speed on it, and then they feel seen again. And that's important. Customer service, man, I know that I sell more art to people who like me than any other way, right? So if I can be of service that way and be likable, then my business works better, and I'm happier about my business.
Absolutely. Dave.
Right, so agreements matter. So we do a lot of this stuff, and we find that a lot of the creatives we have, because a lot of your jobs are different each time, that it's hard to figure out, like, how do I get my agreements down? And so agreements matter. And when you understand this, you want to set achievable boundaries. And so the principle here is that you want to create what we call a scope of work, or an SOW, a statement of work, right? The statement of work is, here are all the parameters for this particular job that we're going to do. And the parameters include, what it is that we're creating, what's going to be delivered, what are the steps to get there, how many revolutions, how many check-ins do we have, right? Do you get 3 corrections, 5 corrections, 2 corrections? Do I get paid for every correction, right? Like, I know you guys have all gone through this where you're, like, by the time you finish on a project, you're getting $4 an hour because you're doing all the corrections, right? When you go in at the head of this, saying you get 3 corrections, and then after that, the corrections are this much per hour. And I'll let you know how much per hour it is, like how much it's going to take, how long it's going to take for each of these corrections. It's best for you to do the corrections when I'm in the pencil mode, not in the final illustration mode, especially if I'm working in oils, right? And so having that whole thing set up for yourself at the beginning shows that you're a professional. And then you have an agreement that makes it so that you don't feel taken advantage of. Because I know you do what you do because you love it, but we're here to be pros. And so the pro part of it means that you have to have really clear agreements. So one of the practices, and I would invite you to do this when you get home, is to figure out what your SOW is. What is your statement of work on the average project that you do, right? So how long does it usually take? What are the parameters for it? Are you getting paid for your revisions, right? Write up an SOW that is what we call boilerplate, or is just a simple template that you can modify each time for a client. And then think about it in terms of sliders. Maybe they need to do this. Maybe they need a little bit more time on this. Everything is on a slider. I tell my clients, okay, here's my statement of work. If it doesn't work for you, I'm more interested in getting this done than getting stuck on any of these little parameters. So what works for you? All right? And so this is a really powerful tool for you guys, and I would invite you as one of your practices to make a statement of work that you can use. And if you want, Dave at Laetro, you can send it to me. I do this all the time with creatives to figure out, like, what does a contract look like? Right? We always have challenges with that, and it's important to have an agreement going in at the head of your engagement, because if you can think through all of those things, it's going to make your work so much more enjoyable, and then you're clear about what your delivery is, what your payment is, and how your career works.
Perfect. Last one here. Oh, no, second to last, sorry.
Right, is really just do great work, right? I mean, I know that seems really obvious, but it's a principle that makes your business run. All 5 of these principles are principles that make your business run. And doing great work is really critical, right? Like you have, and this is your life. This is what you want to create for yourself. And so having the agreements in place allows you to be able to do great work. And doing great work gets you more agreements. And so it's really important that you put your heart and spirit into your work so that it reflects who you are. You know, when I was at Disney, we would get a scene and you say, like, all right, you've got 7 days to do this scene. You never procrastinated on it. The minute you got the scene, you started to work on it. And one of my mentors said to me once, he said, I was apprenticed with John Pomeroy, and he said, yeah, hey, Dave, man, don't worry about your drawings. Just imagine them blown up 100 times their original size, shown in front of millions of people all over the world forever, right? And so, you know, we have to take pride in our work. What you create is who you are. And so it's important for you to do great work in the world and be a part of a community that's rising up this world. So the practice for being able to do good work is to create some space for yourself to do good work. And that means both time and your actual space, right? So we're talking about time and space here. So the time means that you create a bubble, a structure, some way that you can have the time to do good work. It takes longer than most people think. And you really want to be able to have that time to do that good work because you know what it feels like when you turn in something that's not, right? And so you don't want that feeling. You want to create from that place of fulfillment, your heart is one of the most powerful forces for your creativity. You want to take care of it. And your space is one of those places where you can do that. So I know, I've got a great studio in Chatsworth. I have a ton of space. I've got, I've got art supply. You want to come over? What do you want to do? I've got clay, gouache, acrylics. I've got brushes, oils. I have a space that I'm really proud of because that space is a reflection of how I take care of my creativity. And so think about your space. How does it work for you right now? And can you improve it? And when you improve it in a way, like I started, even when I was working at Disney, I had a guest house on this property, and my studio was in a room where my elbows couldn't even stick out, right? I had a drawing table that just fit tucked in. I think I left it there because I couldn't get it out when I moved. But it was this tiny little space, but it was dedicated and it was mine, and that was my place to make creative things, right? So I want you to think about what space you have to create, and is there room for improvement in there? Because the space that you have to create is your gift to yourself and the respect that you hold for your own creativity. So continue to build on it, and now I imagine one day I want a library with a ladder on it that's on wheels, right? That's the kind of space that I want to create for myself. An easel where you gotta go and crank up the easel because it's just a big monster, right? Even if I don't use it because I'm doing digital stuff now, right? So I would really encourage you to make some space for yourself. I know a lot of us, we have apartments and we're renting places and we use the kitchen table. Awesome. Well, maybe there's room for improvement there. Take care of your creative soul.
Dave's studio is also an incredible icebreaker on video calls. We get on the phone with these corporate guys, and they're like, their minds are blown. They can't believe it. So, also a good reason to have a space. You know, you look the part, you talk the part. It's all part of this optical, experiential thing that's happening when you're talking to people and, you know, ultimately selling stuff.
Yeah, I go into my studio and I just don't come out. I just want to tinker all the time.
Right.
Also, on video calls, I have this white rabbit that runs around my studio, and every once in a while we will be on these corporate calls and they'd be like, all right, cool. Well, then if we could get the PR4 and what is that a rabbit running behind you? So yeah, he chews all my cables, but I'm a master at splicing them now.
And just to bring it full circle, that is Dave selling authentically. That is Dave being his authentic self. He doesn't have to be anything. He doesn't got to hide the rabbit. He doesn't have to clean the space up. You know.
Why clean the space up sometimes?
Well,
the rabbit doesn't clean the space up. That's the problem.
That was more about Rory. But.
Yeah, Rory does not clean up after himself.
That brings us to our last one. Finish strong. Leave no doubt. So we've all gone out to a restaurant, right? And we've ordered the $30 chicken, and we're nervously excited about it. We know we paid too much for it, but when it comes out and it looks incredible on the plate and it's cooked just right and it comes out, you know, just after you've gotten halfway through that drink, it's perfect timing. It matters, right? That plating, that experience, that delivery matters, you know? I'm not thinking about the price tag anymore. I'm thinking about, you know, this lovely meal with my friend that I'm going to enjoy here.
Right. Who here is taking a picture of their food? Right? That is delivery with delight. Right? That's what you want to do with your work.
Right. And leaving no doubt really starts at the beginning, right? You know, to have solid materials together, to have a portfolio together, like this whole, you know, experience comes together and culminates at this final moment where I've created a piece for you. I'm going to deliver it to you. You know, the files are going to be just right. It's going to be organized. It's going to be tight. It's going to be on time. It's going to be on budget. This all really matters about leaving a delightful impression on somebody that, hey, you made the right choice. It was more than just a painting, right? It's more than just an art piece.
Right. You guys have unboxed stuff. You know, think about your own deliveries that way. You don't just walk up and hand them something. Like maybe they want it framed. Is anybody going to pick a better frame than you are for the thing, right? Add that add that piece to it and then mark it up, right? I'll frame this for you. I've got a great framer and I know exactly how I might do this. Let me check on the prices for you. Here's what it's going to be, right? And then you mark it up 10% or 20% or whatever, so it's worth your while to go and do that. And then that way, when it's delivered, I mean, it's amazing. Right? They can hang it right away. They don't have to take it to another framer and try to figure out something that you already know better than they do. Right? So, and maybe if it's a digital delivery, what does that one look like? How do you deliver something where people are delighted? And so that's the piece that is about finishing strong. And so what happens when you finish strong is you reinforce their belief in you. You reinforce your belief in yourself. And when you do that, you cycle up because you keep believing, and when you believe, you can continue to create. Does that make sense? All right, let's wrap this up. I think we have a bonus for y'all. All right, so the bonus is that the principle is you have to resource yourself. Means that you've got to find a way to connect to that thing that fills you up. So I heard a guy say once that if you eat cookies and milk every single day, you'll outlive everybody you know. And if you don't outlive everybody you know, I mean, at least you had cookies and milk every day. Kind of unassailable logic, right? Now, here's the key to this. The operative word there is outlive. You'll outlive everybody. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be cookies and milk. It can be whatever that is for you. What is your cookies and milk today that allows for you to resource yourself, to be able to find that inner strength again, to put some stuff down and be able to connect more deeply to yourself, right? And so sometimes it's cookies and milk. And in fact, This afternoon it is. And so if you want to come to booth 829, oh no, 821, sorry. 821. Go to booth 829. They don't have anything over there. They have dirt clods over there. We have cookies and milk. And so we're going to, at 4 o'clock, we're going to do a little informal talk about LinkedIn at our booth and build an engagement group if you want to be part of it. And we'll help you figure out, some of the things that you need to know about LinkedIn, and then we'll set up this engagement group. And shortly after, we're going to head over there right now, and we're going to have some cookies and milk. And so if you want to come and join us for cookies and milk, that'd be wonderful. Again, Drake DeBiasse, you can find him at Drake at Laetro, and I'm Dave Zaboski, and you can find me at Dave at Laetro if you have any questions. And then you can see us at booth 821. Thank you so much for your attention. We appreciate you all.
Thank you very much, everyone. Here's the QR code for the deck.
All right, so for this deck, if you want to take a picture of this QR code, that'll take you right to the deck.